Well, hello everybody, Brian here with Plumbing Solutions. In this little video we're going to be talking about your isolation valve kit and how to turn this thing on and off and what it does. There's a lot of different names for this thing. I like to call it an isolation valve kit because it isolates your water heater from the rest of your plumbing system. But here on the box it's called a service valve kit, and I've also heard people call these service ports. So what is this and where is it located? Well, it's up underneath your water heater. Most people don't even know it's there, and it just looks like it's part of it, but this is actually a pipe cover at the bottom that comes off, and I'm going to show you how to do that and how to turn these valves on and off. But first let's take a look at what's in this box. Alright, let's see what we have in our little service valve kit in our little box here. Alright, I'm going to open it up. First thing you got, just about everything's going to come on a piece of paper. It's going to give you just a run through of what the thing is, how the thing works, what kind of pressures it can take, what it's made out of, all kinds of little specs and warranties and stuff like that. If you haven't ever read the little piece of paper that comes with, well, any product, I highly recommend you skim through that at least, if not reading cover to cover, because you might learn something. Maybe. Okay, in our kit here, we have, we have our two isolation valves here. We have one for the hot side, one for the cold side, red and blue, and then we have this little guy here. Now, what is this? Well, plumbers, they call this a T&P. It's a relief valve. Now, T and P stands for temperature and pressure relief. So if you go into a plumbing supply house and you ask for a T&P, they're going to hand you something that looks similar to this. But the T&P is going to have a long plastic thing that hangs out of the end of it. This one here is actually a P. It's a P only because it just does pressure. It doesn't do temperature and pressure. The T&Ps were for the conventional old school big tank water heaters. They used to say on the top here, pressure only, but it doesn't. This just says it's a thermal expansion water rated. Thermal expansion water rated. It says it on top there, which I guess basically means the same thing. Who knows? Rules change as the years go on, but you don't want to put this style, just the P, the pressure only, on a conventional tank water heater. You're going to want to have that temperature. That's because that's maintaining a temperature constantly, where a tankless water heater is only going to bring water up to temperature when you're asking it to. So this is for pressure only, and this is how we protect our houses. We test our plumbing systems at 120 psi. This is going to open at 120 psi. So if we test to that, if that pressure ever gets over that, this thing is going to pop, it's going to open up, and it's going to dump water out the bottom of it and relieve the pressure. Normally, we have our houses set right about 75 psi. Some of them are a little less. We typically don't let it try to get too much higher than 75, but some people have 80 and 90. But you don't want any more than that. This valve can start popping and start dripping and start leaking on you. I have seen some of our they've got experience as a service plumber, not so much of a new construction plumber. They go out to a house that's brand new and this thing's sitting there, drip, 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 water pouring out the end of the tube at the bottom, and they immediately think that they've got a bad T&P, which it's not the relief valve. It's actually, go put a gauge on a hose bib somewhere and look at that pressure. That pressure gauge jumps up to 115, 120 or something. It's not this. It is the pressure in the house, so you might have to add a pressure regulating valve or pressure reducing valve, or go adjust the one that's there if they already have one. But I've seen it so many times, they replace this and they're like, man, the new one's leaking too. Well, that's because this thing was doing its job. It was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. Now, this does screw into the hot side. You can put a little Teflon tape on there. Whenever dealing with your water supply, on the supply side, now you can do whatever you want to with the drain stuff, but don't use that thread sealant. A lot of plumbers call it pipe dope. Don't use that. It's a brush can and a brush stuff. It's like a thick, greasy kind of stuff. That can get in your water supply, your drinking water, and it's not bad for you or anything, but what it does is it goes and it clogs up filters, it clogs up your shower heads, your water savers. It's just, I've not had good experience with it. It's just junky stuff. So Teflon tape only. Go ahead and put some Teflon tape on that and tighten that guy up. And you have 2 isolation valves. Now, something else to look at on these, and what makes it your service valve or whatever, is this little port right here. Now, that can be unscrewed. It's got this little thing there so you don't lose it, that doesn't spin around like it's supposed to. There's a little ball valve in here. Now, they come open. I would go ahead and close that ball valve. It's a little stainless steel ball in there. Ball valves are probably the best thing they've come up with so far. I don't like the gate valves and the planet valves or whatever they were called. These things are really good because it's a stainless steel ball, resilient seat ball valve. And this one is for your service port. You'd hook your little machine up to here to run your descaling agent around in your water heater. And it's just like if you ever had to descale a coffee maker. We put vinegar in it and you run it through a couple cycles and you get some junk out of it, and your coffee maker starts working again. Same thing with a tankless water heater. It's got a heat exchanger inside of it that can build up scale over time. Your manufacturers are going to recommend you do this once a year. But you can go longer than that. Your little display, your little controller will actually tell you that it's got some scale build up and it is time to clean it out. It'll flash a CO. I think some of them say 00, some of them say 99. Look at your homeowner's manual. Go find the PDF online and read about your error codes. The other thing here is it's got a union, and I love unions. Make working on things a lot easier and a lot simpler. In your union, you're going to have some kind of washer or O-ring, and that is what's going to seal it. Now, I'm looking at it right here and I see this little burr. Be careful with this brass stuff because when they cut it and machine it, it can get little burrs, and it can cut you or leave little thread marks on your hands. It's best to just kind of stay off of those threads. But this seal here, you're not going to need any thread tape or anything like that because you have that seal there. Now this part you're going to attach to the bottom of your water heater, and you are going to thread tape that. Here again, I don't like it when guys use pipe dope on the incoming water supply because, like I said, it gets in stuff, it makes a mess, it clogs up your shower heads. But that's it. There's a main ball valve, the big one, and that's really the one that was of concern, that was asked about. How do I turn my ball valves on? And it's that big one there. You're going to leave the little one closed. Now this cap does have a rubber piece inside of there, and it will, if you put this on and screw it down tight enough, it will actually seal it and hold the pressure back. But it's really not designed for that. That ball valve is what you want to turn off to hold that pressure back. But that's pretty much it. And of course the cold valve is basically the same way. It's got the ball valve up here and the big main ball valve on the side. But that's it for the kit itself. This is the Rheem tankless water heater. This is an 84 model. This one here is one of our most popular ones that we use. We also stock a couple different Rinnai models. And I've seen some A.O. Smiths floating around. Now, New Plumbing Solutions is a new construction plumbing company, so we're primarily only doing new residential construction. Every now and again we have a pool house or something like that. But like I said, this is our most popular one. This is a pretty mid-range. It's good for most residential houses until you get into some of the much larger houses. You might want to step up to something a little bigger. But this does pretty good for for what we're doing. All right, so what we're talking about is down here, the pipe cover. If you've got one of these guys outside, you're going to want to have those pipes covered with something. I remember back in the day when these things first came out, they had the heat and air guys actually wrapping these with that metal that they can bend for their ductwork and stuff. It looked pretty hideous. But all the manufacturers do make a cover for the specific models. Now they're different. The covers are not the same for every model because models are different sizes. They're bigger, they're deeper, they change. So make sure you get the right cover for the right brand and model water heater. Now when you're going to go work on one of these things, you're going to want to open one of these things up. The manufacturers are going to tell you to get a long magnetic Phillips head screwdriver. This one here just so happens to be my Renai screwdriver. When you go to the little seminars, little classes for whichever brand, they typically give you a screwdriver with their warranty phone number and stuff on the back of it. I have some for Rheem, but when they give me them, I typically hand them out to everybody. But got my long screwdriver. In the summertime, especially down here in the south and stuff, when you go messing with this pipe cover, it is open in the back and there are holes cut in the bottom. Little critters and bugs and stuff love to get in here. I've even seen birds build nests and stuff in here. It's not going to hurt the water heater being down here. Now if they get up in here or in here, they're going to be a problem. But when you walk up to this thing, take that screwdriver and tap on it. See if any bugs or wasps or anything come flying out of there. That tap is going to confuse whatever's in there and they're not going to attack you immediately. Now, on this particular model, some of them have a big giant screw right here in the middle, but on the Rheem, there is two little screws down here at the bottom. Now I've already taken them out, and as you can see, the cover will stay on pretty good without the screws. So let's take those screws out, set them on your gas meter, set them up here, someplace they won't fall in the pine straw and get lost. Then you're going to want to walk up to this thing and reach up and grab the little lip here at the bottom. Now I'm always going to want to be like in front of it when I'm doing it, but you're going to want to grab that thing and pop it off of there pretty quick and get out of the way. Because if there's a big old giant wasp nest right here, they're going to come looking for you. And if you get 4 or 5 feet away from them, they're not going to hurt you. So there's your cover. Comes off pretty neat, pretty easy. This is what it should look like inside when you open it. This is the way we do it. It's a piece of wall bat insulation with the paper on the back of it. We put a piece in here for added insulation. We don't have to do that by code, but we do that to help protect our water heaters when we get those 1 or 2 days every so often that we dip down into those freezing conditions. So let's go ahead and pull that out. It should just, if the guys are good and clean and neat about it, you know, that should just come on out. Now it looks like somebody was in here messing around with stuff. And my little port is open there. Now there's going to be an electric wire running up into here. Alright, the first thing I want you to see, and it's probably best if I bring this in a little bit. Now this one's a little different. It does have your blue and your red valves here that control your service ports here. But the main valves here are yellow, and this one apparently hasn't been turned either. If you notice that right there in the back, why is that like that? Remember how this was looking if we did this when I was on my table in there and we had those ports? Ideally, you want that port facing out so you can hook your hoses up. Now, there's a problem with this TMP thing. It hits the side of the cover. Now, you might see them turned around this way with the relief dropping down in that direction and the valves over here, but typically we do it this way. I'm assuming it's set up and designed like this so that you can drill a hole in the side of this cover, and that relief valve would actually be hanging out the side of the heater, but I just don't know about that, because you're putting that in the weather and it's not insulated, it's not up underneath here, and I think it should stay underneath here. But if I were to turn this around the other way, my service port's going to be poking back. But it does have these unions at the top that you can loosen, and you can spin these valves if you needed to. But this is the most convenient way with the way the thing is set up there. Now, something we do when we install these units, all of our tankless water heaters, we've learned our lessons over the years. We are going to turn these valves off at install, and as the plumber, we're never going to put water to this main unit part here. There's a big old copper thing in here. I'll show you that in a minute, and it can bust if it freezes. So if this thing doesn't have power, doesn't have gas on it, it can freeze, and it can bust the that heat exchanger and some of the other little plastic parts in there. So we don't want water on this thing until the electrician has been here, he's run his wire, we have power. Power being on is going to take care of this little water heater. It's got little ceramic electric heaters in it that kick on and keep the inside decent above freezing so it doesn't break. So we're not going to turn the water on. As a builder, it's your responsibility. When you get the power, the electrician, you get everything is done, you're going for that final inspection, you can walk out there. I always start with the cold valve first. Just kind of turn it on kind of slow. Remember, it's that ball valve, so it's going to open up. Turn that up, is going to be on. And remember, it's always in line, intersecting or whatever, crossing it is going to be off, and in line with the pipe is going to be on. And once you hear it go, it might try to fire up on you. Go ahead, turn that other valve on. Now this one is going to bubble and make all, because there's air in here, and this is going to go into the hot side of your house. Something I didn't point out about insulation here. You see this black foam stuff? This is what we're required by code to put on here, is this black foam stuff. This wall bat stuff is extra, and we always like to take a piece and stuff it in behind your pipes here, so it's insulated on the back side and the front side. Now, if there's no heat source or anything, insulation is just insulation. Insulation is not necessarily going to protect you from freezing. What you're going to want to do in freezing conditions is drip your faucet on the hot side, so we got a little bit of water moving through here, and that keeps you from freezing. But the whole point of shutting these valves off before you have the power is so nothing happens, it doesn't freeze, and nothing happens to it until the owner or the builder is ready for that to happen. But we do turn those off, and we do have a lot of people call up and say, hey, what's wrong? How do I turn this thing back on? All right, let me show you this core real quick. All right, well, here is a frozen heat exchanger. I always called it a core, but it's your heat exchanger, and it's copper. It's solid, pretty heavy copper. Well, there's some things to notice, and I don't know if the camera's really going to pick up on this. You see this here, how it's all pitted and stuff? This has actually been frozen, and it's swole. Yeah, I don't know, maybe you can see that this is more smooth here. It's actually cracked right there too. Wow, little hairline crack, I didn't even notice that. But it shouldn't be all pitted. That's actually expanded right here. But where this guy actually popped on us was right there. It's just, this thing's just a big radiator. But you see that? Bow! I love how this thing blows up. It looks like a little mouth. This joker is done. This is the most expensive part on your water heater. Why? Because it's made out of copper. Lots of copper there. But that's it. That's what's going to happen if it freezes. That's going to do it for this video. Thanks a lot, everybody.